What's up, guys and gals? Jason Lanier here. Some of my most underutilized time is all of the time that I drive, and I find myself driving a lot by myself. And I was listening to some photography podcasts, and honestly, I got pretty bored. So I hope this one doesn't bore you. What I'm going to try and do is just record something as if you're sitting in the seat next to me, and we're having a chat. It's going to be a one-way chat since obviously you aren't here, but I hope this is beneficial. I put a note out on my broadcast channel for Instagram and asked people in a poll question, what are some of the things that you would like to hear about in a podcast? And as I was looking at the results, I realized that one of the things that I could do is just record this in a video and post it as a video and as a podcast. Another way to kind of maximize my time. So getting to the point, which is very important, the number one answer on this poll question that I put out was, and by the way, I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at the road. One of the number one questions, the number one response was how to overcome anxiety with doing your first paid gigs or just doing paid gigs in general. And that's a really important thing. And as I was looking at the various things that I could talk about, one of the reasons why I asked about that question about anxiety was simply because it's something that all of us struggle with. No matter how confident you are or whatever you do in life or whatever talents you are born with, all of us have things that scare us, that give us anxiety, and things that we just don't want to do. And so I was also reminded of this because I'm in the Everglades right now, and my sons just flew home. I did a vacation, and just yesterday I was in the Everglades with my sons, and I'm not going to mention which one, but one of my boys really has some pent-up anxiety over the fact that a number of years ago when we were in Alaska, he saw a bear, and a bear stopped on the road and scared him, and all of us were there, but it really hit home with him. And so as I took the boys, my sons, and now I say boys, they're 19 going on 20, as I took them down to the Everglades, my other two boys had no problem hopping out of the car and going around, but he was kind of staying close to the car and didn't want to do anything because of the fact that he had this past experience. And he shared with us that was one of the reasons why he wasn't too keen to see any snakes or alligators or what have you. And some of his brothers were teasing him a little bit, nothing too harsh, but I told them to be quiet. And I took my son, and I said, you come at your own pace. You come closer to the water when you're ready, and I would stand close to the water. And of course, I would never do anything that would endanger my son's safety in any way. But as I took the time to stand close to the water, and I pointed out, the closer you get to the water, the clearer the water gets. The closer you get to the water, the further you can see into it. And the further you can see, the less scary it is. And it took a number of minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but as it went on and on, my son ended up standing next to me and felt very comfortable being there. I thought that example was really relevant to this conversation because the reason we feel anxiety, for a lot of us, not pretending to be a doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, or anything else. I'm just a regular guy who has had to overcome a lot of my issues with feeling nervous or anxious in certain situations. And I've overcome them simply by walking into them. But I don't walk into them without care or consideration. I walk into them knowing that I have to process things and let things process in my mind to where I feel more comfortable doing the things that scare me. Whether that's walking into abandoned buildings, whether that's talking to clients, whether that's getting out of my comfort zone and forcing myself to be a better or stronger person. Whatever it may be, I'm forcing myself in a controlled manner to overcome my fears. For many years, as a guy who walks into abandoned buildings, I've been someone who has had to consistently tell myself to calm down, tell myself to breathe a little bit, and to let the situation soak in. One of the key anxiety reducing techniques that I utilize when I'm in abandoned buildings is actually the act of stopping what I'm doing, sitting there, and letting the environment soak in for me. That's a huge thing for me. One of the things that really helps me to feel more comfortable in a situation is honestly going through and listening to the surrounding environments. By doing that, it really has given me the opportunity to be able to understand what's there, what I should be scared of, and what I shouldn't be scared of. A great example of that is when I walk into abandoned buildings and there's wind, and the wind picks up and it'll rattle the roof, it'll rattle walls, it'll take aluminum siding, aluminum roofing, and it'll pound it against the wall. Now, if you're there during a time where it's maybe darker or where it's, a little sketchier, and you hear that pounding of a piece of aluminum or wood or what have you, you're gonna get scared because you don't know what it is. And so over the years, as I've done this, I've become very adept at just simply allowing myself to walk into an abandoned building, and instead of immediately just charging through it, I'll sit there and watch, and I'll listen, and I'll acclimate my ears and my vision to the environment. Well, all of that holds true as it relates to shooting paid gigs. It's the same thing. So the reason people feel so nervous when they're talking about paid gigs is simple. They feel nervous because, well, there's a number of reasons. They feel nervous because they're worried whether or not they can provide the expected results that the client is seeking. That's a big thing that makes people nervous. A good example of this is a number of years ago, I was helping a family friend who was trying to become a photographer, and this individual had a photography degree, 4-year photography degree. And when they came and asked if they could mentor underneath me, I said, sure, you can come along to some weddings and try and learn and see what it's all about to be a photographer. Well, fast forward to after they did a number of weddings with me, I would give this individual some critiques on their work, and just to be fair, this person really struggled with a lot of things related to photography. Photography didn't come easy to this individual, and so what I ended up doing is I said, hey, what you really should do is continue to mentor or continue this mentorship with me or anyone else, and try and become and improve yourself at some of these areas, whether it's composition, lighting, posing, communication, whatever it may be. You need to really improve these things if you really want to become a successful photographer. And these are things that you can learn, but it's going to take a lot of work, because really when it comes down to the real world of photography degrees mean nothing, because they really don't teach people much at all. And so that's why photography programs really are non-existent at this point. Just my 2 cents. Anyway, so this person continued to work, but then they got impatient. And here's the bottom line. This person took a wedding to shoot on their own. And one of the biggest mistakes, and this is the first paid wedding they were going to do on their own, and the biggest mistake that they made in this scenario was they took the gig and they approached me and they said, hey, I'm thinking about taking this gig, and I really want to do it, and I'm wondering what you think about it. And I said, the best piece of advice I can give you is charge far less than they're willing to pay. Why? Because it lowers the expectations. Whatever price range you quote to this individual, they're going to have commensurate expectations. So if you charge, X amount of dollars, they're going to have X amount of expectation, just like all of us would. If we pay $500 for a car and it lasts for 6 months, hey, we scored. If it lasts for 3 months, we scored. But if we pay $1,500, $2,500 for a car, we expect it to last at least 6 months, at least a year. If we pay even more, $5,000, $10,000, we expect the car to last for many years, so on and so forth. Well, I gave this individual this advice, and they proceeded to book the wedding for $1,500. Well, upon doing so, and they told me about it, I said, hey, honestly, I would not do that. And this person said to me, you mean you want me to return money? And I said, I want you to properly set expectations so both you and the client are not at odds at the end of the wedding. And when I said this to the person, they said, well, I guess you really don't believe in my ability, and you're really, knocking what I'm able to do, and so on and so forth. And I said, that has nothing to do with it. Honestly, this doesn't affect my pocketbook in any way. This really is related to you becoming who you can be as a photographer, but also really it's related to it's related to what you're going to be able to provide at this wedding. Well, they charged $1,500. They shot the wedding. They told me respectfully that I was wrong and I didn't believe in their abilities to be able to provide the services that they felt that they could provide. And they went and shot the wedding, and they got sued. And they got sued because the pictures were honestly awful. And when you say the pictures were awful, this person was still struggling to shoot in manual mode. So a lot of the times when they were trying to get the right exposure, because it was in a priority mode, it would slow the shutter down way too far, because they would shoot in aperture priority mode, and so that they would slow the shutter down way too far, the camera would, and the pictures were blurry. On top of that, everything is related here. Because of that, the pictures were blurry because they didn't understand lighting. They couldn't use lighting, and so what that meant was the camera was slowing everything down to compensate for their lack of knowledge related to lighting, camera exposures, manually using your camera, so on and so forth. Bottom line is, they ended up quitting photography because they went and did something they weren't ready to do, and that really destroyed this person's abilities and confidence in themselves to be able to provide a product that a client would love. And I hate when that happens. I hate when photographers have to give up on their dreams because they make a really crucial mistake. So, what do you do to overcome the anxiety? First and foremost, if you don't feel ready, don't do it. You may be listening to this saying, well, I may never feel ready. You will. One of the best ways to do that is to train under somebody, a more experienced photographer. Train under somebody who, honestly, you're not a competitor for them. Train under them for portraits or pets or weddings or something else. You're going to have to work for free, because if for this person to be able to, want to provide knowledge and experience for you without charging you, you're going to have to be able to work for them for free. That's a fair and adequate exchange of value between the two of you. Second thing that you're going to have to do is practice. So just like one of my sons coming up to the water, it was uncomfortable for him, and he didn't necessarily feel fully ready to do it, but I let him come at his pace. So when he came up to that water and could see that there were no alligators where we were at, that it was going to be just fine, that he could stand next to that water, and the closer he got to it, the further he can see, and the more clearly he could see into the water, the better he felt. And so you're going to feel that way related to shoots. When you shoot more and you get more experience, you're going to feel more at ease as it relates to charging clients to do whatever that it is that you want to do. So if you don't have somebody that's willing to mentor you, you're going to have to do some shoots for free. Now, as it relates to doing shoots for free, I'd say at least 5 shoots, and narrow those shoots down into what you want to do. So if your goal is to do pet photography, do 5 pet shoots. and have specific goals in mind. I want to shoot dogs, I want to shoot cats, whatever it is that you want to take pictures of. Try to narrow it down into that. So you're narrowing your practice, you're focusing your practice into the actual, endeavor that you want to become accomplished at. So try and do that. Try and really gain that experience with something that you are good at, or better stated, try to gain that experience for something that you want to be good at. That's going to be a big benefit to you. So get that mentorship experience, practice, and then finally you take that leap. And when you take that leap, the most important part, like the example I gave you earlier, is not charging an amount that is going to put you in a place that you could end up really overselling your ability. Don't start trying to charge, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 for your first wedding. You're setting yourself up for a colossal error. Don't do that. I always tell people it's always better to take a little bit less than a little bit more. If you can, and the client's willing to pay $2,500, but you're not really ready for that, then charge a little bit less, because then you're setting that expectation where it should be. Last but not least, related to this, as it relates to setting your expectations, post work on your website, post work on your social media that is commensurate with your abilities. Don't post work that you cannot produce. And you may be saying, well, if I'm posting my work, what do you mean? I am posting work that I can produce. Well, not a lot of times. Newer photographers, when they go to workshops, be it mine or a lot of other people's workshops, because they'll post work that really they can't produce on their own. And that's very important. And I know this to be the case because when you guys come to one of my workshops, I do one-on-one critiques and I look at people's work. And when I look at people's work, I can see that there's a pretty significant drop off between what they did on their own versus what they did at a workshop. And I'll know this because I'll say, hey, did you do this at somebody's workshop? Yeah. And these images I did at somebody's workshop. How do you know? Well, I can just tell a difference. And so these are some of the things that we need to work on. So post work that you feel confident doing, because if your clients book you based upon the work that you're showing on your website and you're showing on your social media, then you know that you can produce that work. And that's going to make you feel a lot more confident related to working with clients. And that's going to relieve that anxiety, because the whole reason you feel anxiety, or at least I would feel anxiety related to shooting paid gigs, is because there's an expectation there. And so if you do those 4 things, practice on your own, work with a mentor, set those expectations where they should be, and post the work that really is related to what you can do, you're going to walk into a shoot knowing, hey, I have the practice, I have the know-how, I'm setting my pricing relative to what I can provide, and my clients have seen the work that I can confidently know I can produce for them. Then you're going to know that you can do it. So I hope that helps. I really does. I really do. And if you guys enjoy these videos, let me know. If they're boring as hell, let me know, because I'm just trying to provide something while I'm driving, and hopefully it's been a benefit to you. So if you guys are interested, you can come to one of my workshops. We work on all of these kinds of things. And anyways, that's it. So until next time, keep shooting, never give up on your dreams. Find a gig that works for you. And remember, you only have one chance to get it right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.